What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. And you know what time it is. It is Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or any time after that. You know that my mock draft after week 2 of the NFL season drops. I'm super excited about this one. Came up with a little bit of my own draft order here. This order, which is kind of a combination of the way that I see things going through 2 weeks, small sample size, but you could tell a lot from a couple of weeks, and also from Super Bowl odds. So really the first, there are a few teams that I jumbled around in the mid and the end part of the draft order, but really a lot of the first 10, I would say, are from Super Bowl odds. So don't get butthurt if your team is in the top 10. Obviously, this is not the true correct draft order as of right now. I think I'm going to wait until maybe after week 6 or so. Week 6 or 7, I feel like closer to the halfway point is when we could really start buckling down and saying, yes, this team is for real. Yes, this team is actually no good. All that kind of stuff. So we could kind of formulate our opinions. So this is the order that I came up with for today. So before we get into it real quick, I just want to say I really, really want to try and hit my goal of 10,000 subscribers before the 2024 NFL Draft. So if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel and you are watching right now, please leave a like, please share, and please subscribe to the channel so you could help me hit my goal. It is greatly appreciated and it helps the channel more than you know. So without further delay, I think that we should just get into it. The first 2 picks are always going to be really easy. If it is the Arizona Cardinals on the board at 1 and 2, you already know my answer. This is the consensus for a lot of people. If the Arizona Cardinals are picking at 1 and 2, it is going to be Caleb Williams at number 1 and Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 2. I think that's pretty self-explanatory up until this point. I will say that I think that maybe if it ends up being like 1 and 4 or like 2 and 5, something like that, we could see these picks being very different. I don't think that if it's in the top 3, it's going to be either Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison Jr., but maybe the other pick being in the top 5 could be an offensive tackle. I know that they just took Paris Johnson this past year, but the offensive line is still in shambles. And even though they're getting a lot of pressure early on in the season, their defensive line still isn't really set up to play under a 4-3 with Jonathan Gannon. It's really more set up to the 3-4 that they were playing last year. So I think they need a little bit more of a personnel switch. But other than that, it's got to be Caleb Williams. It's got to be Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1 and number 2. The Chicago Bears at number 3. This is their original pick. And I know the first thing that you're going to say here is if they're picking this high, that means that they have fully given up on the Justin Fields experiment. That may be true. I'm going in a different direction here. I know that they have 2 top 5 picks in this mock. I'll just level with you right now. Neither of them are quarterbacks, believe it or not. This pick is going to be Olaf Ashanu. And it's funny because last week, I didn't put any offensive linemen in my mock for the Chicago Bears with either of their 2 first-round picks. And a lot of people said, hey, why didn't you mock an offensive lineman to the Bears? And I said, hey, Bears fans told me that their offensive line is much improved and they didn't need any help. So, okay, was it petty on my part? Sure, definitely. But this team still needs offensive line help. I mean, you could ask any Chicago Bears fan. Braxton Jones himself has fully regressed after 2 weeks after being super solid last year. Hopefully that's just a quick rut that he's in. But I think this offensive line still lacks a lot of talent. I know last year they took Darnell Wright in the first round. That's the right tackle of the future. I still think they're searching for that left tackle of the future, even though Braxton Jones graded out pretty well last year. He does not look great so far this year. I'm going to go with Olaf Ashanu. He is probably the closest thing to a sure thing in this entire draft class. This guy hasn't given up a sack in his entire collegiate career. He's an absolute beast. I don't think he's given up a single pressure at all this season so far. He's really protecting Drew Aller very well at Penn State. So Olaf Ashanu is the pick for me there at number 3. And then full disclaimer, at number 4, the Indianapolis Colts. This is where I have them right now. This is clearly subject to change. Seeing the way that Anthony Richardson has played throughout 2 weeks, I'm pretty confident that this team will not be picking in the top 5. Top 10 is certainly possible. I'm thinking more of like top 12, maybe around 11, maybe 12. They could probably squeak out 6 or 7 wins, I would say. So I'm thinking that. But as of right now, I have them at number 4. And at number 4, I think this team really could use a weapon in the wide receiver room. They really could. Defensively, though, they don't inspire me on the defensive line. DeForest Buckner is still really, really good for his age. Grover Stewart is super underrated as well. They have a couple decent pieces behind Eric Johnson, Taven Bryan, guys like that. The defensive end position is really leaving a bitter taste in my mouth here. Kwity Paye is pretty good. Other than that, I mean, you have a Deo as well. He's pretty good. He was coming off of, I believe, a 6.5 sack season last year. No one that really stands out as the dominant pass rusher, though. Kwity Paye is good. I don't think he's ever going to be dominant. They need someone to be dominant. I think Jared Verse is that player for the Indianapolis Colts that could bring the speed. He could bring the power. He could do it all. That's exactly what they need. They need a pass rusher that could take over the game. And this is a player that last year I thought could have been a first-round pick. This year he's just solidifying it even more for me. And Jared Verse would be the pick at number 4. Could go offensive line here as well. I don't know if there's another offensive lineman. Joe Alt is probably the only other offensive lineman I take in the top 10, and he will be being picked very, very soon. Trust me. But other than that, I don't know if I would go offensive lineman, especially with someone like Jared Verse or even Dallas Turner, Johnny Newton, Jerzon Newton sitting there as well. I think I would go defensive line before I go offensive line for sure. But it's going to be Jared Verse for me at number 4. Number 5, this is where Johnny Newton comes into play. I don't know. I haven't seen Jerzon Newton this high in mock drafts. And I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. I think we need to really start taking note that this Johnny Newton is what we wanted Kalijah Kancey to be in last year's draft. You know how everyone was saying the undersized defensive tackle who's going to be a beast in the NFL. I'm not saying Kalijah Kancey can't be that guy. He certainly can. But this prospect might be the closest thing that we have to Aaron Donald in college since Aaron Donald. I promise you that. I know that's high praise, but Jerzon Newton is an absolute monster. And I know that the defensive tackle position actually has been pretty decent for the Chicago Bears throughout 2 games. Zach Pickens has looked pretty good. Gervon Dexter as well. Justin Jones, and I'm drawing a blank on the other defensive tackle's name right now. They are free agents as well, as long as the other backups as well. And if someone like Jerzon Newton is sitting there at number 5 and you have another glaring hole in the defensive line, I don't see a way that you can't pick him. It's going to be Jerzon Newton here for me at pick number 5 for the Chicago Bears with their second and final pick of this first round. Then you move on to the Patriots. I mean, there's just a plethora of players that I could clearly see in Patriots uniforms. Drake May, if you would have asked me before this week, before the Sunday night game against the Miami Dolphins, I would have said Drake May is probably the pick here at number 6 for me. But Mac Jones has really played well throughout the first 2 weeks of the season. I think Bill O'Brien is unlocking the rest of that potential that we thought we kind of sort of saw the most of in his rookie season. Now I think we're seeing his rookie season play, but a little bit more elevated. I still don't think that if you asked me who I'd build a franchise around, if it was Drake May or Mac Jones, I would obviously say Drake May. But on the flip side, Mac Jones hasn't given us any indication throughout 2 weeks that he's the reason why the Patriots are 0-2. So I'm going to shy away from that, and I'm going to say that Joe Alt is going to be the pick for me. There's a glaring hole after this year at left tackle, and Joe Alt might just be the most technically refined tackle prospect in this entire draft class, and he just screams like a Bill Belichick pick. At number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders. This is where Drake May comes off the board. And the reason why, I understand there's a big hole on the defensive line. I get that as well. That you could, Kool-Aid McKinstry is sitting here as well, another guy that could really, really help a problematic area. I get it. Even any offensive lineman here, even Brock Bowers. I know they just drafted Michael Mayer, but why not double dip and get another extremely talented tight end? If Drake May is still sitting here at pick number 7, where we're all hell-bent on the fact that he's going to be a top 2 or top 3 pick, I think you have to take him. This is the guy for the future. Jimmy Garoppolo, in a similar situation to Mac Jones, hasn't really played bad throughout the first couple weeks. But, I mean, Drake May is the potential franchise quarterback that you're looking for a really long time. Now, we knew the last couple of years of Derek Carr, we knew he was on his way out at some point. This is someone that you could build your future around. And if Devontae Adams stays around, that's a great number 1 wide receiver to have. I'm going to go with Drake May here. I know it might be unpopular, but I think that this would be a sneaky good fit. At number 8, I have the Denver Broncos. Really not Russ's fault throughout the first 2 weeks that they're 0-2. I know he's kind of collapsed in the second half. in both games for the most part, except for that crazy Hail Mary against the Commanders. But be that as it may, I think this team is really lacking another piece in the secondary. Yeah, I know you look and you see Justin Simmons, you see Pat Surtain, and then it kind of falls apart after that. I'm looking at Kool-Aid McKinstry here as that. I mean, another Alabama cornerback, another super talented Alabama cornerback. And there you have it. There's your cornerback number 2. And now you have your secondary for the next 10 years. Right then and there. You have your cornerback duo for the next 10 years. I think that the offensive line could be an issue as well. The defensive line could use an upgrade. The linebacking position, this is too early for a linebacker, but they could use an upgrade as well. But I'm going to go with the cornerback room. They're clearly lacking something in the secondary throughout the first couple weeks of the season. Number 9, Minnesota Vikings. Going to make this really easy. This is going to be a pick that I make pretty much every single week, so get used to it. It's going to be Michael Penix Jr. I think that this is just an incredible selection for Minnesota if this was the case. You get your long-term answer at quarterback. You get someone that's a little bit more physically mature, I would say, than others. He is a little bit older. I know he's coming off of a few devastating injuries, but if he could stay healthy throughout this entire collegiate season, and then he was healthy last year as well, that's a really, really good sign. Like I said, a little bit more physically mature. He's probably going to be close to, I believe, 24 by the time his rookie season rolls around, but Penix Jr. really has almost everything that you look for in a franchise quarterback. And with the weapons that Minnesota possesses, plug and play starter right away whenever he's ready, whenever they're ready to kick Kirk to the corner. And I think that would be just a money pick right there. Number 10, Pittsburgh Steelers. I know unpopular opinion having them at 10, but let's be real. They scored 3 offensive touchdowns in the first 2 games. They haven't really looked great. Their defense kind of really bailed them out against the Browns. They should, by rights, be 0-2 if Deshaun Watson didn't poop his pants. Be that as it may. Doesn't matter. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers here at number 10 until that offense kind of turns it up a notch. It was nice to see George Pickens have a really nice game, though. That is for sure. Kalen King is going to be the pick here for me at number 10. I'm sorry. I know they went JPJ. Technically, the 32nd overall pick was a first-round pick, but it was a second-round pick last year. I get it. That's one of their guys for the future. They need someone else on the other side, too. Kalen King, and it's funny enough, I didn't even realize it until just now, is the Penn State corner that was opposite Joey Porter Jr. And he was really the one that was collecting all the statistics. While Joey Porter Jr. was producing on the field and playing well, Kalen King was the one that was actually producing the numbers and playing really, really well. But JPJ was just getting all the media attention, of course, as he come with Joey Porter's son. You know, he's a great player, great prospect. He's going to get all the limelight. Kalen King is finally in the spotlight, and I think he is going to be absolutely fantastic. I didn't even realize it. You're pairing the Penn State guys together. I think this would be a great match for a team that's consistently getting torched in the secondary at this point. Pat Pete is, you don't have to justify the 2-year deal. Get rid of him while you can. Pick number 11. This is maybe the most controversial pick that I have. There's a lot of ways that you can go here with this Rams pick. Chargers are next. LA, they both don't have a lot of fans. Sorry, I got them mixed up. The Rams here at number 11. I think they are exceeding expectations throughout the first couple of weeks. Maybe not mine. I said in my record predictions, I said don't be surprised if this team wins 8 or 9 games. You know, they have too much talent and they have too much coaching talent to be a 4 or 5 win team. But at number 11, they're in a weird spot. I don't really know what they need exactly. They need a lot. But what I think they need the most is a franchise quarterback. Similarly to the Las Vegas Raiders, this might not be the biggest pick for need, but you don't always pick for need. Sometimes you go out there and you get the most talented player at the position that you want. I think they need a quarterback of the future. Stetson Bennett is almost as old as Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is the oldest starting quarterback in the NFL as of right now. He's already mulled over retirement a couple of times. If he gets injured this year, it's no guarantee he ever comes back. You need someone that will be ready, possibly, to step in right away week 1. And for me, if he declares for the 2024 draft, it's Shedeur Sanders. I know last week I didn't have Shedeur Sanders in my mock, and I wasn't convinced that he was going to declare. If he continues to put in performances like this week in and week out, he almost has to declare. I know that he's going to have a chance to be the number 1 overall pick in 2025. I get that. But he doesn't necessarily need the money. He's still making a ton off of his NIL. I think you go out there and you don't risk injury coming back for another year, and you go and you make your name in the NFL. I think this would be amazing. A Sanders in Los Angeles, just kind of like a match made in heaven. I really like the pick. I like the fit. I think it would be lightning in a bottle from week 1. Then you go over to the other side of SoFi Stadium. You have the Los Angeles Chargers. This is pretty simple for me. At pick 12, if Brock Bowers is sitting there, you need your tight end of the future. Gerald Everett and Donald Parham are not going to cut it anymore. Maybe Donald Parham, but not Gerald Everett at his advanced age. Brock Bowers is the easy pick for me. Don't have to explain that one too much. Here, Giants at 13, unfamiliar territory being up this high right now. I think you need to go out and you need to get your future wide receiver 1. And for me, that's Keon Coleman. 6'4", 215 pounds, physically dominant from so many different standpoints. Hell of a route runner, great hands as well. I think this would be Daniel Jones's best friend from day 1, absolutely. Keon Coleman, if you're not familiar with his game, please do yourself a favor and look up some highlights. He just transferred from Michigan State last year. He was a beast over there. He had an animalistic first week against LSU at Florida State. He's a beast. Look up his tape if you don't know what I'm talking about right now. Keon Coleman is the pick there. Pick number 14, they need something, the Tennessee Titans. I don't know what it is. Could it be offensive line? Sure. Can it be another wide receiver? Sure. Another quarterback? Sure. Tight end? No. Chickakwanko is cool. Linebacker, maybe. Rush linebacker, yes. That's what I'm looking at right now. I was thinking safety as well. Cooper DeJean is someone that I kind of like in this spot as well. I'm going to hold off on that for a little while. Their secondary is holding up quite nicely so far this season. I'm going to go with a rush linebacker here. I think Dallas Turner would be an excellent pick here at pick number 14. You know, they don't have too much. Harold Landry is good. You know, Rashad Weaver is okay. And then it's Travis Gibson, I think, is back there as well. I think they need someone, a young firecracker, bullet speed off the edge. That's Dallas Turner. That would take this defense. I said at the beginning of this year, this defense was a super underrated unit, and they are firing on all cylinders. And imagine a speed rusher off the edge, what that could do to this defense. I love Dallas Turner in Tennessee here at pick number 14. At pick 15, you have the Houston Texans. This is the Cleveland Browns pick. At pick number 15, Nico Collins is slowly but surely, after 2 weeks, turning into a wide receiver 1. It only took a few years, but he looks like he's finally emerging as that guy that we thought he could be. John Mechie finally played in his first NFL game. I don't really remember if he did anything noteworthy, to be quite honest with you. CJ Stroud has taken some nice first steps in his first couple weeks. Maybe he's a little bit more further along than we thought he was initially going to be. Tank Dell looks pretty good as well. He caught a touchdown pass too. I think this offense needs one more wide receiver to be legitimate, like an actually scary-ish unit that they would strike fear into a defense. Malik Neighbors is that guy. A lot of people don't think Malik Neighbors is a first-round pick. I don't really get it. I know he's a little bit inconsistent, and we have this Kayshon Boutte fear in the back of our head, but this dude is an absolute baller. I think he would thrive in this offense. Imagine having Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors, and John Mechie. Those are your 4 wide receivers, super young to grow with a young quarterback as well. I think that it would be excellent for the Houston Texans organization. Malik Neighbors is the pick here for me at 15. Halfway through at pick number 16, you have the Green Bay Packers. This is where Cooper DeJean comes off the board for me. DeJean is someone that I think is going to get consistently beat in the NFL as a cornerback. I think he needs to switch over to safety, and I think he'll be just as excellent there as he is in college. This is why he goes to Green Bay, because Green Bay literally, I'm pretty sure, every single one of their safeties on their roster is a free agent after this year. And we know that Green Bay isn't necessarily the big spenders, especially bringing back their own guys. They kind of just draft later on in the draft, whatever it may be, and replace those guys with more homegrown talent. But if DeJean makes the switch over to the safety position, I think Green Bay would be a grand slam destination for him and his talents. Pick number 17 for Washington here. They need a tackle. Amarius Mims is going to be the pick here for me. Someone that I'm really coming around on as a legitimate mid-first round talent out of Georgia. It appears to me that Sam Howell has it. He has what it takes to be an NFL starter every single week. He's really showed out well the first couple weeks. I know he played a soft-ish defense in week 1 in Arizona, and he's played a unit that's more scary on paper than they are on the field in Denver in week 2. But not for nothing, the Washington Commanders are 2-0, and he's playing some pretty good ball. He's playing gutsy football as well, and he's making some really, really strong throws. I think now you need to protect him. If you believe in him as your franchise guy, you need to get him some protection. And Amarius Mims is someone that I really like out of Georgia, and they are just a tackle-producing machine at this point the last few years. So Mims is going to be the pick here for me. At 18, it's about time. Another tough choice. Don't really know which way to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have had them at the number 3 overall pick, and they would have been taking Drake May. Now, I have them at 18. Tentative. I don't know how long that will last. I still think that they'll be like a mid-first round selection, anywhere between like 15 and 19, something like that. And I think they need to go and they need to get their Levante David replacement, their long-term Levante David replacement. He's going to be 34. I feel like he's so much older than that. He's just had an absolutely exceptional career. Devin White is cool, but Devin White has only really played well in that one playoff run that they had when they won the Super Bowl. And other than that, he really hasn't played that well, to be quite honest with you. I think they need another Mike linebacker who is just going to dominate the middle of that defense, as quarterback of that defense for years to come. And for me, that is Jeremiah Trotter out of Clemson. Dude is awesome. The only reason why I turn on Clemson games this season is to watch this guy run around the field. He's awesome. If you don't know what I'm talking about, turn on a Clemson game for like 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll see him and you'll see his number pop up across the screen quite a few times. My New York Jets at pick number 19. You just need a tackle. You need someone. J.C. Latham is someone I like a lot. I like him a little bit less than I did at the beginning of the season. The only reason why is because he's gaining weight rapidly, and he shockingly reminds me of Mekhi Becton at this point. But I think he's way more versed in a lot of different areas than Becton was. Becton was just a mountain of weight and strength. And if you could mold him into something, if he could figure it out, he was going to be a beast. And Mekhi Becton, when he's healthy, is okay. He's not that beast. J.C. Latham, 6'6", 359 pounds he's up to this season, at starting camp at 335 pounds. He is an absolute beast. He is so powerful. He's so quick for 360 pounds. It's kind of shocking how quick he actually is. I love him. I think he's going to be great. And the Jets absolutely need someone, anyone, at this point. At pick number 20, the Atlanta Falcons. I've been pretty adamant about the Atlanta Falcons adding some young pass rushers. I know they drafted Arnold Ebiketie. They have Troy Anderson in the middle of the defense. They signed Caden Ellis. They signed Calais Campbell, David Onyemata as well. But the fact of the matter is Onyemata is going to be playing nose tackle. I don't know how much he's going to get after the quarterback. You still have Grady Jarrett. Calais Campbell is a one-year stopgap. You need someone that's going to rush the quarterback at a consistent basis and is young. And for me, that is Braylon Trice. Maybe not the greatest fit in a 3-4 as a down defensive end, but I think he's got the size and the strength. 6'4", 275 pounds. He's definitely got the size and the strength to play on the interior. He's an absolute beast. His name, I watch Washington games for Jalen McMillan, for Michael Penix Jr., for Rome Odunze as well. And Braylon Trice just continues to pop up on my screen all day, every day. The dude is a playmaker. He's a beast. I think this would be a great pick for the Atlanta Falcons at pick number. If you can get him at pick number 20, even better. Pick number 21, you have the New Orleans Saints. Another wide receiver was on my mind for a while now. Cameron Kinchins is someone that is on my mind right now. The safety position is just old in New Orleans. Really, the defense is getting old. I would say maybe if safety wasn't such a glaring issue, I'd say maybe linebacker. Maybe not this early, though, but at some point early on in the draft, linebacker is probably a big need for them as well. But be that as it may, they need some kind of safety help. Kinchins is coming off of a 6 interception season. He was all over the field. Great size, great speed combination as well. Just really knows where to play. Like, he's just always in the right spot. He's always all over the field, always in the right spot. He is a playmaker. He's a ball hawk. I think he'd be fantastic for New Orleans and Dennis Allen and that defense. So Kinchins is the pick here for me at 21. 22, pretty simple here. The Seattle Seahawks, they need interior offensive line help. Donovan Jackson is probably I don't know why he's so far down on this list. Donovan Jackson is probably the most athletic interior offensive lineman in this entire class, and that's exactly why I love him for this high-tempo, high-speed, young offense of the Seattle Seahawks. 23, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a pick that I've made quite a few times, probably going to keep making it. Leonard Taylor is someone that I like a lot that would play in the middle of this defensive line for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They do need a little bit of an upgrade there. I can't really find another part of the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe a corner. Don't really love the cornerback position this year, so I'd rather get someone that's as good of an interior defensive lineman as Leonard Taylor than take a risk on another guy, maybe like Denzel Burke or someone like that. I'd rather go on the safer side and get a defensive lineman. Leonard Taylor is that guy for me. At number 24, got to go with another. I know Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond and these guys have stepped up when Jameson Williams is down, but I said it last week, I'll say it again this week. If Rome Odunze is here, that would be an amazing trio of young wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Odunze as well. This guy is sensational. I don't know if it's just a combination of him and Jalen McMillan and being with Michael Penix Jr., but those guys are always all over the field. That's another guy that I could easily see being a first-round pick when it's all said and done in Jalen McMillan, but I'm going to go with Odunze here at pick number 24. Cincinnati Bengals at pick number 25. And I think it's time. We've had, DJ Reader and BJ Hill or whatever. Maybe I'm drawing a blank on the starting defensive tackles here. I think it's time. You're going to have to start paying a lot of these players, and they just gave the richest contract in NFL history to Joe Burrow. They're going to have to line up some money to pay Jamar Chase. They paid Logan Wilson a cheap deal, luckily in the offseason as well. It's going to start to pile up. They're going to have to make some tough decisions. I think they're going to have to start replacing some starting level talent with some younger guys. And for me, on the defensive line, it's going to be Mason Smith, someone that's super talented in rushing the quarterback from the defensive line standpoint. I believe he was suspended week 1, so we didn't really get to see him that much in week 2 as well, or week 3. But once he gets acclimated back to the game, I'm sure that his pass rushing chops are going to show through. Really, really strong prospect as well. 6'4", I believe, 315 pounds, moves insanely fast, and he is just an absolute beast on that defensive line. And this is a player that I'm super, super excited about in this spot. I haven't mocked him here before. Laiatu Latu from UCLA is someone that is just crushing it. He was great last year, 10.5 sacks. He's already got 4 sacks this year, 6'5", 265 pounds. This is a destination. The Buffalo Bills sneakily need defensive end help. Von Miller is getting up there in age. Leonard Floyd already has 1.5 sacks so far this year, so he's got nice production through the first 2 games. He's also a rental at 31 years old and also on a 1-year deal. And they have Greg Rousseau, who is pretty good, who I think is going to get better as this year goes on, and then he's going to establish himself as that guy in Buffalo. But I think that they need to, kind of like what they did when they drafted Rousseau, they drafted Boogie Basham in the 2nd round, tried to get like a young duo, a pass rushing duo to grow together. But Latu is someone that just seems inevitable on that defensive line. He's like Thanos on that defensive line. He is unbelievable, and I think this would be a nightmare for AFC East opponents for years to come with those 2 guys on the ends. 27, you have the Miami Dolphins here. And I think it's clear that Teron Armstead is kind of coming to the twilight of his career in the NFL. And Kingsley Suamatia is someone who has been mocked in this spot, not necessarily Miami, but like in this spot in the 1st round for quite some time. I think he's really good. The only thing that you don't play the cream of the crop competition at BYU. That not having a conference, you kind of make your own cookie cutter schedule. But we saw the same thing with Blake Freeland. I was going to say Blake Freeland. Blake Freeland was someone who was just an absolute athletic freak and really, really just like completely rose his draft stock on his own at the combine. Suamatia is someone who I think could do the exact same thing, except on a grander scale. I think he's actually dominant. He's physically big enough to play the position where, Freeland was someone like 6'5", barely 300 pounds. You didn't know if he really had the strength. Suamatia is someone who is big and strong and is a mauler and really, really wants to get after you in the run game, and he really wants to put you in the ground in the pass game. It would be perfect to protect Tua Tagovailoa. Suamatia and Tagovailoa. Let's try and say that 5 times fast. 28, I have the Philadelphia Eagles here, and I have them drafting a safety, and that'll probably get me some, you don't know why. Why would you do that? That's not the Howie Roseman way. Please, I am a huge believer in the Howie Roseman way. I can't say Roseman for some reason today. Offensive line and defensive line, no matter how strong they are, you just go out and get them. I get it. And actually, defensive end is probably a big need, probably the biggest need for the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming year. But Tyler Nubin is someone that I just can't overlook that would add so much to that secondary. If James Bradbury and Darius Slay could last 1 or 2 more years at a high level playing that position, adding Tyler Nubin to someone like Sidney Brown. I know that they have Reed Blankenship. They brought in Terrell Edmonds as well. To be quite honest with you, Blankenship is someone that I like as like a Buffalo nickel type of player, kind of like how Washington and New York had Landon Collins the last few years. Kind of someone that's going to play like a nickel linebacker. He's huge, and that's why I actually thought a couple years ago I thought that's what he was going to play in the NFL. I thought he was going to be a linebacker because he was like a 6'4", 225-pound safety. So I thought his game would translate better to the linebacker position. But he is someone that's super versatile that I could think play a bunch of different positions. And Nubin is someone that is a traditional safety that could just come in. Him and Sidney Brown would form an unbelievable, young, physical, freakishly athletic safety tandem. I mean, you might not like the pick. That's completely fine. I just thought it was something fun to play around with, and I thought that would be a great fit. I have the Baltimore Ravens all the way at 29. And I like Chris Jenkins here purely from the fact that the Ravens need some defensive line help in some way, shape, or form. And Jenkins, son of Chris Jenkins, is also someone that has really made a name for himself over the past couple weeks and has really risen up draft boards. We see this a lot with defensive linemen from Michigan. A couple years ago with David Ojabo, with Aiden Hutchinson, and now you have Chris Jenkins. Last year it was Mozzie Smith, Mike Morris, guys like that. So Chris Jenkins is just another one in a long line of super talented Michigan guys that could just, they want to hurt you. They don't want to play football. They want to put you in the ground. I mean, that's basically what Mozzie Smith wants to do. Chris Jenkins is just a guy that's just like that. And I think that's the Baltimore Ravens nasty mentality that I think would just be a match made in heaven for Jenkins and the Ravens. Pick number 30, you have the San Francisco 49ers. It's clear after 2 weeks that they need some tackle help. Graham Barton is someone that I've been monitoring as a up and down kind of, is he a first round pick? Is he an early second round pick? Someone like that. And I think in this situation, I think it warrants a first round pick. Barton, super polished. Like I said, doesn't really play the greatest competition at Duke, but he also is getting some of the spotlight this season because of how good Riley Leonard is. So this is a perfect scenario for him. I think he could slot in right away at right tackle and, be the right tackle for God knows how long until Trent Williams decides to hang it up. But Barton would be a really, really nice addition to the offensive line of San Francisco. 31, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. I know I have the Dallas Cowboys at 32. Don't look now, ladies and gentlemen. Emeka Egbuka is the pick here. I mean, it's clear that Patrick Mahomes, regardless of how good he is, regardless of how good Travis Kelce is, he desperately needs some wide receiver help, some talented wide receiver help. Now, if Egbuka is here at 31, clear pick for me. And then the last pick, the Dallas Cowboys at 32. Yes, believe it or not. I'm going to go with a versatile offensive lineman here because Tyron Smith is getting old. They locked down Terrence Steele. We don't know exactly what position Tyler Smith is going to be playing. He bounces around from tackle to guard. I think his best spot is guard, to be quite honest with you, which would leave a hole at tackle. Or if he moves to tackle once Tyron Smith retires, then you have a hole at guard. And Cooper Beebe is someone who has played both, and he's played both very, very well. This is someone who throughout this draft process so far has been consistently underlooked. And he reminds me of Peter Skoronski. Like, he's not going to get a lot of love. He's going to be like, oh, well, he's super polished, and yeah, he's good, but, like, he's got short arms, and it's not the sexy pick. You make the unsexy pick if you need it. And I think for quite some time now, a couple of years at least, Dallas needs another young, good offensive line. They need to get back to those days of having that super elite offensive line, and he could definitely help them get there. Cooper Beebe is the last pick, and just like that, there you have it. There is my 2024 NFL mock draft after week 2 of the NFL season. Please leave a like, please leave a comment, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.